Hi there, it's Jackie Ballheis from Clumpin' Stampers, and I've been making cards for a long time and consider myself a pretty experienced card maker.
And I'm Jessie, Jackie's daughter, and I would consider myself a pretty new card maker.
So welcome to our Card Making 101 series, where we're going to teach you everything you need to know about stamps, ink, and paper to make cards.
And so we're starting out with class number 1, all about stamps.
You'll learn everything you need to know. You ready to get started?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Well, Jessie, you ready to learn about stamps?
Let's learn about stamps.
Okay. The first thing I think you really need to know with Stampin' Up! Stamps, they have two different types, the Photopolymer and the cling. Now, people get a little confused. Photopolymer are the clear ones. Cling are not. They're still red rubber. So let's go ahead and talk about each one first. Let's start with the red rubber one.
So this is where like the classic rubber stamping comes into play?
Pretty much. This is more old-fashioned, but we're still using clear blocks.
Okay.
So when you get a brand new set of stamps, you're going to get your stamps in a sheet like so, plus a sheet of the labels that go on them. So you can just break those apart. They all kind of pop out of there. And when you do that, you want to save this, because what you're going to do to store them is keep that base or whatever in your case. And then
that makes sense.
Then you'll know like if you're missing anything. You always know how many stamps belong.
So get them all out and we can just keep that in there.
Yeah. Now, to put the labels on them, you'll see these all have paper on them that peels off. So you're going to start by peeling the backing off of them.
Okay.
And then when you come to your labels here, if you go on this side, you'll see how there's like a little crack there. So I'll do this one and show you. So what I'm going to do is peel that off. Okay. You want to be careful to not actually peel the sticker off the sheet. We're just peeling the backing off. I'm keeping it on the sheet.
Okay.
And then I like to lay it down, and I'm going to take my stamp and set it on it exactly, because that shape will fit the shape exactly.
Okay.
And there's no wiggle room. Once it sticks, it's like stuck.
I can't peel it off and try again. Okay.
No. So I'm trying to do this without being straight over my head. I usually start at one edge that I can really see, and I'm going to line it up right there and kind of bring it down, line it up, line it up, line it up, line it up, stick it down.
Okay.
And then you should be able to just peel it off like so.
Oh.
Voila.
All right.
And that's how you put those labels on.
Can I do it?
You can do it.
Okay, so carefully peel off just the paper backing. Ooh, sticky.
It's super sticky.
I feel it now.
It's super sticky.
Okay. Maybe I should have went for a smaller piece.
Yeah, the first one. Just start at the top or the bottom or wherever you can see.
Okay.
Just lay it down. Putting this label or sticker on it, this is what allows it to stick, really stick to the blocks.
Ah! Oh, come on.
Look at that. There you go.
Oh, yeah. And that is sticky, huh?
It's super sticky. Now, I do want to tell you, it's, I think, almost too sticky, to be honest.
Yeah.
When you use these, especially when they're new and you put them on your blocks, when you take them off, don't just like grab and rip, because you could actually rip them. So you need to kind of grab from an edge and make sure you get underneath that label part.
Okay, and be a little more gentle with these.
Be gentle. The other thing I have found, if you think they stick too much, you can take these and actually like dab them on your clothes a couple of times, and that will just take a little bit of that.
Oh, you get a little lint on there, not as sticky. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I'll be totally honest, people that watch me in my videos, most of the time I don't put my labels on them.
Of course you don't.
I know, I'm just being...
Is that the experience side of you?
Yeah. So they do stick without the labels as well, so it really is kind of a personal preference.
Okay, and I'm not sure I could do that, especially with a stamp like this that's so small. I wouldn't know which way it goes. Exactly. And I would probably stamp it upside down.
Probably. That's really the purpose
of having these labels.
Yeah. So those are your cling stamps.
Okay.
Or red rubber. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at a set of the Photopolymer, which are the clear ones. Personally, these are my favorite, because when you stamp, you can see through them and know exactly where you're putting your image.
I like that.
Now, when they come, you'll notice they come out of the case and they've got plastic on the top and bottom. And they'll have your images printed here. So you want to just go ahead and peel the top piece is thinner. I know it's a little sticky.
Yeah, it is.
And now you can peel those off, that sheet, and actually stick them to your case.
Oh, these are also very sticky.
They are. Not nearly as sticky. And then this is how you're going to store them. So again, you'll be able to know if you're missing a stamp, if it's not in the case. And then once you've put them all in there, you don't need that plastic anymore. So
Oh, that's pretty nice.
yeah.
Okay. I can tell this is a brand new stamp set.
I know. Especially your bigger ones at first are a little bit hard to
I assume
take
over
off.
time that gets a little loosened up.
It will. And we'll talk about that in a little bit because it'll get really loose. So those are really your two main different kinds of stamps. And we'll talk about the different imagery in a bit, but that's the difference between clear or photopolymer or the cling, which is the red rubber.
Okay.
So now that you know about the two different kinds of stamps, both of them have to be mounted onto clear blocks to use them.
Okay.
And your blocks are reusable. So technically, you only need one of each size. Well, you don't even need all the sizes. Depends on what stamps you have, what size you need.
Because that's a very big block.
That's a very big block. When you purchase Stampin' Up! Stamps on the website, it will tell you exactly what blocks you need because they're all labeled on the size of them. You can see like that's an A.
Oh.
I bet that's a B.
That's a B.
Yep. So on the website, it'll say for these stamps, you need a B and a C or whatever. But this is the whole collection here. If you know you're going to stay card making, if you just buy one of each, you always have.
Then, yeah, you always have the size you need.
Yeah. So now let's talk about tips for putting them on your blocks.
Okay.
So we're going to start with that photopolymer set because it's clear and you can see through them. And one thing that kind of makes me crazy, and let's see, I'll give you this one, is if they're not straight on your block. So the clear ones are really easy to put on straight. If you use grid paper, I always have grid paper under where I work. I don't know.
Guess I need this one.
Okay. But to put it on your block, lay this on the grid paper. You can see through it. Line it up straight on those lines. And then you're going to take your block on the top of it and line your block up on top.
Oh, with the lines?
Yeah. And then you know it is on there straight. So when you're stamping, put your block on straight and your image should be straight.
Okay.
Now, the other thing with photopolymer ones, they are very flexible. So, and with these, it doesn't matter so much, but sometimes you might have, say, a stamp that you're going to die cut, so it has to be the right shape. The best thing to do, instead of taking this and just putting it on there, is to actually just gently drop it down there and let it fall in its own shape. It'll maintain the shape, and now pick it up with the block. And then you know it's shaped exactly like it's supposed to be.
Okay.
But you can also curve them if you want to. For this one, because it's
give the stem like a little bend.
yeah, so when you put it on there, you can curve it around and do whatever you want with them
Oh, yeah.
So just a couple other advantages are, why I like the photopolymer.
That makes sense.
Now, when we look at the cling, it's not quite as easy because you can't see through them. So what I like to do with these is first decide what block.
I think I can probably go smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that one.
And I actually set the block down, line the block up with lines. And now, to the best of my ability, I look through the stamp and try to put that on based on those lines. And sometimes I get it right, sometimes I don't, but we're going to do like a little test.
Yeah, that's not as easy.
It's not.
Okay.
So then what you can do is ink it up. Now stamp it on the grid paper use the block as your edge. And you can see it kind of goes downhill.
Yep.
So then what I do is I will gently peel it up.
And try again.
And try to adjust it a little bit. Good job peeling that up gently and kind of getting under those.
Thank you. You taught me to be gentle.
I know. And it's kind of a trial and error, and you'll get better being able to eyeball them as you go. That's pretty darn good.
Hey, yeah.
So that's kind of my little tips for getting those on straight. So one other little tip, as long as we're talking about putting them on blocks, I have an old set of mine. Now, as you use your stamps, they're going to look well used like these are, and they will start.
Is that stained or?
That's stained. The ink will stain them some. Yep. But
there's no ink on there.
No, and look, this little guy isn't even sticking very good to the box anymore.
Yeah.
Over time, these will start being not sticky anymore. So you could take them and take like a little bowl of warm dish soapy water.
Okay.
And literally wash them, because they pick up oil from your hands and lint and guck. Or what I like to do in my stamp room is I always have little alcohol pads. And you can clean your stamps, that backside, with these.
Yeah.
And that will just help take some of that like oil on them or lint on them. And then once they dry, they will become they'll become really sticky again for your blocks. So for those of you that have been stamping for a while, if your stamps aren't sticking like they should, this should definitely help.
Okay, good tip.
There you go. So now to dive in a little bit deeper on the different kinds of stamps, I want you to look at these two and compare these flowers and those flowers, because this is what we call a line image.
Okay.
And this is what we call a bold image. These are really intended in most cases, even though I don't all the time, but intended to be colored. So if you like the color and like a coloring book, that would be one that you would stamp and color, because you've got that outline as coloring book. And we'll talk about coloring in one of the upcoming classes.
Okay.
And then this one, because it's bold, and these are stained, by the way.
Those are very pink.
You know, we talked, I think earlier we mentioned how they look dirty.
Yeah, but there's nothing coming off of them.
And when you use photopolymer, especially in reds or pinks or purples, those are the colors that really, really stain them.
Okay.
But a bold image like this is intended to stamp in a colored ink pad.
And this is why you gave me this.
Yes. So here you can say there's nothing to color there. Our color came from the ink. Where here we have that coloring book.
I can't stamp like purple flowers or something with this stamp. I'd have to color them in purple.
Exactly.
Okay.
So those are two main kinds of stamps. And then there's one other one I want to share. We're back to this set that we used already. This is what's called a two-step stamp.
Okay.
So you really have outline and bold. You can use
so you
them,
get both out of this one.
You know, you could just use the bold, or you could do this or color. But a two-step stamp is intended to work together, where this is your coloring, so to speak. So this is your outline, and you stamp one
so
on
I can
top.
stamp this one in purple, and then I can give it like a black outline.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And we'll do that in an upcoming class as well. But just to kind of show you the differences, and because you'll hear us talk a lot about bold or outline.
Okay.
So those are the two main differences.
Sounds good.
So while we're still talking about different kinds of stamps, I want to just share with you why I like Stampin' Up! Stamps so much, and why I have for all these years. And it's primarily because they come in sets. So when you buy a set, you have all of these stamps that go together. I don't know if you remember back when you were a little kid, and I started stamping 30 some years ago, I'd go to a store and I bought like a teddy bear and a balloon and a tree, just random stamps.
Random images, yeah.
And you couldn't really do anything with them. They didn't go together. So you know in a set, you got images that coordinate. And most sets come with some type of greeting or sentiment in them. So
Like this one's probably very easy to make thank you cards.
Exactly. But here's one of my biggest tips for a newbie starting out. Always get yourself a good greeting set, a good general greeting set, because with this set, you can pair this with anything. Whether it's flowers or butterflies or trees or that teddy bear, you could now make a thank you, a miss you, a birthday, thinking of you, celebrate, which celebrate can be a wedding, a baby,
a graduation. Yeah.
And I always say thinking of you can also be get well or a sympathy card and all that. So this as a newer stamper with not a lot of stamps, you could make cards for almost anybody and any occasion.
That makes sense.
So just a wise purchase to get started. Get yourself an
all occasion greeting set.
Yep. And then, focus on the Stampin' Up! Sets and how those pieces all work together.
Sounds good.
Okay, Jess, we've talked about a lot with the stamps. I think you need to stamp a card.
Oh boy, here we go.
So we're going to do, I call this monkey see, monkey do. So I am going to just take my stamp, and when I ink it up, I'm just going to tap it gently on there, get it nice and inked up, and then I am going to stamp twice. And I'm going to go once, give it really good pressure straight down, and then I'm going to tilt it over a little bit and do it a second time, just to get a little bit more dimension, I guess we'll call it in there. So
1, 2.
You did really good.
That's pretty easy.
That was pretty easy. You know what? For this one, let's do the same thing off the top. Flowers would be upside down, but leaves can hang. Kind of cover it better. There you go. Look at that.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. Now we're going to add just a super simple greeting on here. So I'm going to take thanks. Now again, these are all the stamps. Whoops. We're using are from the one stamp set. So we're just going to go thanks. And we know you put this on the block straight, right?
Oh, I did.
So when I go to stamp it, I can kind of line up the edges of the blocks with the edge of my note card, and I'll know that it'll be straight on my card.
Okay.
And now I just have a really simple thank you card.
Edges and stamp.
Pretty good. I think you're a professional.
I definitely didn't ink it up as good as you. I feel like
a little blurry. I think you just want to make sure I've always been a tap, tap, tap. And you want to make sure that when you stamp straight down.
Okay.
And not
I can't really redo it, but yeah.
But not rock it. And throughout our class, as we do several other classes in our Card Making 101, we'll share more tips for actually stamping the images. But I thought you should just make your first little card. Now, I'm also a biggie in you should always stamp the inside of your cards.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and just put one on the inside. Like that. And envelopes. You always stamp your envelope as well. We don't want naked envelopes. So there's that. And now look at how easy peasy that was to just make a really simple card. It doesn't have to be hard.
No, that was pretty easy.
So those are your first cards that you've made in our Card Making 101 class.
Well, thanks.
And I think there's one last thing we need to talk about in this first class having to do with stamps, and that's cleaning them, because you don't want to put them away dirty.
No, I feel like I get ink everywhere.
Exactly. And also what'll happen if you don't clean the ink off, and now let's say I grab the stamp the next time and I put it, say, in a yellow pad, I'm going to have this nice pretty pink outline of the flower in my yellow pad. So there are several ways to clean your stamps. I'm going to just show you my favorite and my second favorite.
Okay.
One is to use I think it's called Simply Stampin' Shammy or Simple Shammy, something like that.
A chamois.
A chamois. Now you can see this one is dried out. It's dirty and it's dried out. This is normal.
It's crunchy.
It's crunchy. But this will be absolutely fine. All I have to do is take that to my sink, run water over it, and then as I run water, it'll soften up as it absorbs. It's just like a car chamois that people use. And then you run the water and squeeze it, run the water and squeeze it. And all this ink will run out of it. You'll see the water will run clear.
Okay.
It's going to stay stained. But as long as that water runs clear, you're good to go to keep on using it. Now to use it, I have a brand new one for you.
Ooh.
So this is what they look like when you get them. So you can see.
A lot softer.
Yeah. And I think it's wet enough. This was right out of the package. They're actually a little wet coming out of the package. I keep mine in a stamp case. You can also keep them in a Ziploc. I recommend, if you don't stamp as often as I do, let them dry out like this.
Okay.
Because if you keep them in something that they can't breathe, they can get moldy from being
Oh, yeah, that would make
wet.
sense.
Yeah. So to clean your stamp, now okay, we're going to get this one dirty. All you have to do is twist it on there, or sometimes depending on it, rub it on there. And just like that, you've got a clean stamp. And
so how often do you need to like rinse these out then, would you say?
I would say if you've stamped for the day, it's probably a good thing just to rinse it out.
Okay, just kind of be in a habit of when you're done, just clean it.
If you're stamping like all day, and if all of a sudden you feel like it's not cleaning your stamps anymore, I'd rinse it out then.
Gotcha. Okay.
So now the other way that a lot of people like to use or clean is called the Stampin' Scrub. And this is a larger pad like this, and it's kind of a, I don't know, what do you call that? A brush? Yeah. And with this, you can use water, but it really works best with Stampin' Mist, which is a stamp cleaner.
Okay.
And I like to say, we're going to spray it on one side, wash, and dry. So now, wash and dry.
It's like doing dishes in the sink.
And you're clean. So that's just another option. We'll get into it when we talk about different inks. Sometimes you really want to use the cleaner, and sometimes this will work better than the Shammy with some of the special inks.
Okay.
And then to clean this, these pads actually, I usually have to take like a little butter knife or something to get under there.
Oh, yeah, I see that corner.
Those pads will come out of there, and
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's not going anywhere.
right? And you can run those under water, again, until the water runs clear. You could even put a little soap on them if you need to, and make sure they're clear to clean them out.
Okay, so it's really, both of these, they get cleaned up, just water getting rid of the ink.
Exactly.
Simple enough.
And like this, if you use it a lot, you don't have to clean it every time. But what I do is determine what side is always my wash and my dry. And I do it by see where it's open on those little squares, not here. I always open it squares at the top, then it's wash, dry. So whatever works for you. So that's just another option for cleaning your stamps.
Okay, simple enough.
Well, Jess, you've made it through your very first Card Making 101 class. How do you feel about understanding stamps?
You know, I didn't realize there's so much that goes into stamps. We got the different kinds, the different styles. There's a lot about stamps.
But it's not really hard.
No, very simple. I appreciate this class.
Yes, you did very good.
Well, thank you.
So now we will, in our next class, talk further about inks. Because you need the inks for the stamps to work.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
So we'll be back with class number 2. So we hope you learned a lot, picked up some tips. And if you have any questions at all about anything that we've talked about or I've shared with Jessie here, please reach out to us, leave us a comment or message us, and we'll help you any way we can.
All right, we'll see you guys for class number 2.
Bye. Have a stamp happy day.